PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hey guys, welcome to another week here on Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the good folks that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be me and him, the me being Kim Brown.
Are we definitely good folks?
We're trying to give off that impression.
Okay. And I'm the him. I'm TC Kirkham. Welcome to Front Row 5 and 10. Mm-hmm. We hope you enjoy our show every week, and we would love to hear your list ideas. If we use your list idea on the air, you get a prize. You get your name on the site, get your name on the show for all the world to see. Don't you want the publicity? And say, I made a list. I made a list. I made a list. Front row at PNRNetworks.com. Please send it in. My pick this week. Mm-hmm. On our show.
Yes, it was.
I decided to have a little fun. I know we've done this sort of on Subject Cinema a couple of times, but not the way that we've done it here.
No.
Our top 10 favorite bad films. What I mean by that are the 10 films that are bad, considered so bad it's good, or just bad that we enjoy it, that are the films that I'm not afraid to sit through over and over again.
Yep.
There are some bad films that are just bad that I can't sit through again, like Red Zone Cuba.
Right.
Like Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave.
Ow. Damn it.
I love watching her do that. You guys can't see it, but she's always doing these neck cricks when I say that.
It's a twitch.
It's just a matter of all you got to do is say the magic words and it happens. So anyway, I thought it would be fun. What about you? Did you have trouble with this?
No, actually, I didn't.
I had a little difficulty. I had to go through everything and try to sort it out. I didn't have as many honorable. I have a couple honorable mentions, but nothing like I did last week.
I actually didn't have as much trouble with this at all. Really, I had a list, and the thing is, I went back and looked at the list, and I was like, well, I'm going to take this off because. For this reason, I'm going to take this one off because of that reason. But these are all films that I will be the first to admit are awful.
Yeah,
and I will also admit that I watch them again and again and again.
I will admit that two of these films also are not necessarily what would normally be considered bad films. Mm-hmm. By most people's standards, they would be considered terrible. But a lot of people think they're so bad they're good, and they're not. But they're big mainstream, big budget films as opposed to most of the other stuff. So.
Okay. I mean, like you said, there's some films that are just so bad, they're bad.
Yeah.
They're just really bad, like The Apple. Or,
Ninja Champion.
Ninja Champion. That's another one.
Clones of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Worms and Plastic Minnows.
We've already gone into my whole dislike of the Bruceploitation genre, but...
movies like Bruce Lee Fights Back from the Grave?
Damn it! Stop! Out loud, that's mean.
It's fun. It's funny.
And
too.
Also, I didn't include films that I could watch up to a point, like Manos. I can watch Manos.
Everybody thinks Manos is a great bad film, but I just don't think it's very funny. Even with the Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I mean, I can watch it with the mistying.
Yeah, I can too. I can't imagine not seeing it without.
I can watch it with the mistying, but by the end of it, the end of that film makes me want to run into the bathroom and scrub myself till I'm bleeding. I
feel that way about Touch of Satan.
I can't deal, man. I just can't.
That one just drives me crazy.
Okay, so
I'll fully admit some of these are misty and some of them haven't.
Yeah, some of mine have been misty,
and some of them have been ripped
too.
back slide, and some of them haven't been. Mm-hmm. What are your honorable mentions?
Okay, I have 2 honorable mentions.
And 4.
One of them is the 1960s version of Batman. That I didn't put on the list because...
I don't know if I consider that so bad it's good. It's a favorite of a lot of people. I mean, for what it is, it's a great film.
Yeah, see, I was like, this isn't bad. This is camp. And it's not...
Camp is camp, not bad.
No, I know. But...
I have a feeling we're going to match a lot on this.
But I was like, I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't diss this way.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's just too warm a place in my heart.
Yep.
And the other film that was on my list, but I was like, no, I can't do it. Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I took that off because I think that if they had actually tried a little harder, I think that the film had a great message. The idea that, that this alien is made of...
It's too bad they didn't have a better way to do it.
This alien that's made of pollution is... destroying Japan, which at the time was severely polluted. I mean, it was really bad. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to the whole idea of Godzilla as defender of the Earth,
right.
Not defender of human beings.
Right.
That's a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't put it on there because I was like, that's actually a really good idea for a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish they had done it better,
and
didn't have the annoying short pants kid in it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so those are my 2.
Okay.
So, what about you?
My honorable mentions are 3 of my favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 shows.
Okay.
Horrors of Spider Island, Space Mutiny, and Invasion of the Neptune Men.
Okay.
And the 4th one is more than one movie. It's anything with Wing Wing. Wing Wing is a great guy. He tries to make all of these things work, even though they really don't have him say much.
No.
Everything usually happens around him. But they're entertaining as all hell. They're not good, but they're entertaining. So I had to throw those on there, too.
Okay.
Thus commenceth the list with your number 10.
All right. My number 10, I will admit that I have watched this over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I know you hate it.
Okay.
I watched it a lot as a child because it was on Creature Double Feature. My number 10 is 1967's King Kong Escapes. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk to the entire country of Japan. Stick to giant lizard monsters. Don't do giant mammals.
Yeah.
Because you don't do it right.
And if you're going to have Doctor Who in a movie, at least have the right one, please.
Yeah, somebody really wasn't thinking when they came up with the name of the bad guy. The whole point of this film is that the evil genius named Doctor Who, and it's spelled that way, not that Doctor Who,
sorry.
Has created a giant mechanical ape called Mecha Kong that he wants to use to dig up this highly radioactive stuff called Element X for some evil foreign country that we've never heard of. The problem is that this stuff
Mission Impossible syndrome.
Yeah. This stuff is so radioactive that it short circuits Kong's motherboard or whatever computer stuff they have.
Yeah.
It's technology. It's hard. And so Doctor Who comes up with the idea, well, I'll just go get the real thing. And so they go to kidnap King Kong from the island that he's living on, which in this movie is called Mondo Island for some reason that I don't know why.
He moved.
And into all of this mess also comes a submarine full of the good guys led by Commander Carl Nelson and his...
Is he related to Admiral Harriman Nelson of the Seaview?
I doubt it.
Oh,
or if he is, he's that side of the family they don't talk about. And of course, there's an obligatory blonde, pretty girl that Kong falls in love with, and
which we noticed did not happen in Skull Island.
No.
That's nice.
It is terrible. It is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie.
Which we stay up and watch every time it's on Svengoolie.
Yes.
Arg.
I admit it. I don't care. I love it. It's just,
Which Reason brother is that? Rex or Rhodes?
That's Rhodes.
Rhodes Reason, okay.
Yeah. The cast includes Rhodes Reason, Akira Takarada, Linda Miller, and Issei Yamamoto as Doctor Who. Don't do it again. I said don't do it again! This movie could have used some Daleks. It would have just, that would have been funny. But it's just bad. I mean, it's dumb, it's stupid, it's ridiculous, it's just trash, but I love it.
One might say that it's a dog.
One might say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
They would?
Yeah, they would.
Affirmative, master.
That was a long way to go for that joke.
I know.
Anyway, my number 10, King Kong Escapes.
I'm glad you did all that research because I haven't looked at any of the cast lists and stuff. It's just too much trouble for these. Some of them I know. Like number 10. Number 10 on my list is a mainstream film. And it was originally shot for all intents and purposes to be a serious film. When the audiences got a look at it and then the critics got a hold of it, Universal Studios looked at the reviews, looked at the reaction from the fans, and said, maybe we should push this as a campy film. So they adopted all these reviews, these bad reviews, and implied that the movie was always supposed to be like that. It wasn't, but it certainly is fun to watch.
So the strategy was we meant to do that?
And you've watched it, and you've laughed yourself sick. My number 10 is The Concorde, Airport 79. Joe Petroni, played again by George Kennedy, this time is piloting Concorde from New York to Paris. One of the early flights. He's alongside a French pilot played by Alain Delon and his chief stewardess played by Sylvia Crystal. And in the middle of this, of course, they're the first transatlantic flight of Concorde, which had actually happened several years earlier, I should point out. They have along a TV reporter played by Susan Blakely, whose boyfriend, evil bad guy Kevin Harrison, played by Robert Wagner, has been doing all these evil bad things, and now she's going to expose him. So he tries everything he can.
On the plane?
Huh?
She's going to expose him on the plane?
No, not on the plane, from the plane. Or
Wait,
between stops in the plane. Stop. Just stop.
The monkey's whose uncle?
Anyway, he tries all these different ways to kill her and the entire plane. There is one shot in this film that Roger Ebert said completely defied the laws of physics, and he's right. You're flying an airplane at plus supersonic speed, and you open the window and fire a freaking flare gun? No.
Well, you could do that.
Not very well.
No, I'm saying you could do that.
Concorde would have had its first accident well before 2001 if it hadn't.
My
point
happened. Is, you could do that. It would end catastrophically badly.
It would, yeah.
But you could do it.
I mean, it's so bad, and even the special effects for an airport film are not very good, and it's a riot. And you even enjoyed laughing at it once. I don't think I can get you to watch it again, but it's a lot of fun. Number 10, The Concorde, Airport 79.
Okay. My number 9 film is another country's attempt to jump on the American bandwagon when it comes to nature run amok films. Now, obviously, the Jaws movie made everybody who lived on the, made everybody that lived on the coast very nervous and made people in Kansas point and go, ha ha, look what you have to deal with. But when other countries saw all the money that Jaws and all of its sequels and such were raking in, other people thought, well, hell, we can do that. We just won't use a shark. We'll use something else. Now, in this case, the something else that they decided to use in this movie actually does exist. It is an actual thing, but it does not act anything like it does in this movie. My number 9 is an Italian film from 1977 called Tentacles.
This movie is horrible.
This movie sucks, and I watch it every time it's on.
Yeah, sucks in more ways than one.
Yeah, that's suckers. Okay. I would like to give a caveat here for this movie. The giant octopus is an actual thing. Giant octopus do exist. Giant octopus is also a gentle, shy creature that doesn't,
She was going to go into her earthy, crunchy earth mother here.
They're shy, gentle creatures and denizens of the water that don't pluck babies out of strollers and eat them and kill other people.
Implied. We don't see it eat the baby. We just hear the baby getting taken.
Yeah, they find the baby's body.
Oh, do they?
It's off camera. They don't show
I
the
was
baby.
say they don't show the baby.
They don't show the baby's body. They show the guy.
I've only seen this once. I'm not sitting through it again.
They show one of the other victims of said giant octopus. Now, the whole thing of this film is that this town called Ocean Beach has a offshore drilling going on that what that turns out is what has disturbed this giant octopus and has driven it into a frenzy, and now it's killing everything it can get its 8 little arms on. And it's up to Will Gleason, oceanologist, to save the day with his 2 killer whales, Summer and Winter. Shoot me. The cast includes a crap ton of people who should have known better, including John Huston, Shelley Winters, Henry Fonda for about 3 seconds, and I've said this.
No, that's no. He's in it a little bit longer than that.
Minute and a half.
Maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes, more than he's in Meteor.
Not much more.
Not much more, but more. He was doing a lot of crap like that until Uncle Pond gave him an Oscar.
I've said it before about this film, and I'll say it again. You know you are in deep trouble when your movie hero is Bo Hopkins. Number 9, tentacles. You will never look at sushi the same way again.
You know, I didn't even think of disaster films like I would have normally done, except for airport movies.
Okay.
But I should have thought, I put now in the honorable mentions. I should put When Time Ran Out, which we just watched that a couple of weeks ago. It is so bad, it's funny as hell. I mean,
that movie sucked.
Yeah, it was bad. My number 9 is one of my favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 movies, and it's just. You can't get enough of it because, number 1, it's a lot of fun to watch. There's certain aspects of it that have just become part of Misty lore because it was so popular when it was on. And everyone knows that no matter what you do, your weapons are useless against me. My number 9 is Prince of Space from 1958. I think it's 58, might be 59. It's actually, is this the one that's culled from a TV series, or is that Neptune Men?
I think that's Neptune Men.
Okay. This is about this, guy and Sonny Chiba is Neptune Men too, isn't he?
Yeah.
This is the other guy. Space Chief is Neptune Men. This is Prince of Space. And he has, the thing is, the hero isn't what gets me here, him and his negative scratch guns. It's
or
the
his
villain.
alter ego of Wally.
Yeah, Wally. Is this the Beaver Falls one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, they live in Beaver Falls. The bad guy is Crankor the Invincible. Wah, 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 wah. I love this guy. I don't know who did the voiceover, but the laugh is so freaking ridiculous and funny, and it actually plays out fairly straight. And the short pants kids in this film are a lot less annoying than they are in Neptune Men.
Actually, this was a television series.
It was a television series.
It was a television series in Japan called Planet Prince.
Okay.
And then they cobbled it together and called
Prince of
it
Space, the feature film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of fun, and if you've never seen it,
wow,
it was Misty, and you can see it eventually when Misty goes on Netflix. Hopefully more and more will show up all the time, because they just put 20 classics up there in preparation for the new show, which premieres April 14th.
Yeah.
Number 9, Prince of Space.
Okay. My number 8 film we actually saw more recently than most of the other films on the list, seeing it for the first time. And I was like, the first time I saw this film, I was like, never again, never again. And then they did it on Rip Tracks, and I was like, well, hell, now we have to go. Now, and I just, every time I see this movie, I just can't stop laughing. From 1987, my number 8, Miami Connection. Oh boy. What can you say about a film that has ninjas and
rock music and
drug
bands.
deals and a band called Dragon Sound.
Against the ninja. Da, 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 da. Love the music.
Yeah. Directed by Richard Park and Y.K. Kim. Written by Richard Park and Y.K. Kim. Starring Y.K. Kim as Mark, the one of the members of the band and head karate person. Oh gosh, if you've never seen Miami Connection, you need to. If you think that you have seen funny bad movies, you have not seen all of them until you have seen Miami Connection.
We actually watched Miami Connection for our first masochistic march on Subject Cinema because Eric Lyon from Cavebabble and Anthony Lamberti from Mashed Up Madness at the time were telling us all the time about how funny this thing was. It is now available from Draft House Films.
Yeah.
So,
holy sugar covered crickets on a moped! Is this movie bad? I mean, everyone's trying. They're trying really, really hard.
Badly.
They just no.
It could be it could be the Apple.
Oh, it could be the Apple. It could be Ninja Champion, but
No, the Apple I say pick because the Apple's a musical.
I realize that, but at least this movie, the ninjas don't have headbands with the word ninja.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
But we do get ninjas. But we do get ninjas on motorbikes.
The action is actually pretty good in this film too.
In a few scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much overacting and scenery chewing. It's just completely insane. My number 8, Miami Connection.
My number 8 is a movie we saw for Masochistic March too. Kim had seen it years and years ago, and I'd never seen it. I wanted to sit down and watch it when we did it that year, and for all its bad-mouthed crap over the years, it's actually a fun little film. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was funny. And, I mean, yeah, it's stupid funny.
I was going to say, it's bad funny.
You can't get anything else but stupid funny when Steve Guttenberg is your leading man. I mean, let's be honest. My number 8, Can't Stop the Music from 1980.
To this day, I don't know why I saw that movie.
In the theater.
In the theater. I must have been so bored.
It's the story of the making of Village People. The fictitious story of the making of Village People. Steve Guttenberg, Valerie Perrine, the members of Village People, and Bruce Jenner, before he became Caitlyn Jenner. And he's the most milquetoast leading man I've ever seen.
Oh, I know.
If you saw him on Chips before that, you would have understood what I mean.
Did he do Chips before?
I thought he did Chips before Can't Stop the Music. I might be wrong. It might have been after. But I'm like, oh my Lord.
It's amazing he got any acting gigs after.
Yeah. This movie is bad. And Valerie Perrine has always been a great actress. But she is the best part about this film because she at least can act. Felipe Rose, who is the Indian, the Native American in the Village People, is also got a bigger acting part than the rest of the guys, and he's really good too. Yeah. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's fun in a Xanadu style way.
I do have to defend myself. When this film came out, and I saw it in the theater,
you were like 12, so it wouldn't have been a big deal.
Paid my mother's money to see this movie because I was apparently bored. I'm this little sheltered kid from the suburbs, and I just remember thinking, wow, that guy's wearing a lot of leather. He must really like the way that feels.
Were you listening to him talk? You're listening to him talk in that deliberately kind of Carson Kressley-ish? Anyway.
I was like, wow, that's an interesting look. Woo! Right over my head.
It's a lot of fun. The music is great. Some of the best Village People songs over the years appear in the song, and a lot more. It's just campy fun. My number 8, Can't Stop the Music.
Okay. My number 7 film is another absolutely dreadful attempt by another country to try and copy another country's idea.
Let me guess. We're heading to the Nordic countries now. Yeah, I had a feeling.
Now, I'm not saying that other countries shouldn't try to adapt movies that other people do first. Goodness knows the spaghetti western, obviously one of the greatest spaghetti western films ever made, A Fistful of Dollars, was pretty much a westernized, transported version of Kurosawa's Yojimbo. Great movie, both great movies. So I'm not saying it doesn't always work, but when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. My number 7 is 1961's Reptilicus. As far as I know, the only Danish giant monster movie ever.
Again, this is one of those that she can watch over and over again.
I
run from the room screaming usually.
I'm screaming in this movie. I'm screaming with laughter because it's just so incredibly terrible. And the sad thing is,
it could have been good.
Yeah, the concept is actually really kind of neat, especially when you think about the dilemma part of it. Now, to make a long story short, the whole thing of it is that this part of a giant prehistoric monster is found, and it's frozen when they find it. It thaws out, and when it thaws out, it actually starts regenerating and grows an entirely new monster, which promptly starts running amok in downtown Denmark. Copenhagen. Because that would be my first choice to, if I was a giant monster, that'd be my first choice.
Well,
anyway.
it's right there. It's the big. It was the big metropolis there.
Yeah, I realize that, but Copenhagen? Not to knock Copenhagen.
Tokyo?
I know. Well, I mean, Copenhagen's a lovely city, and I'm sure the people who live there are very happy to not have giant monsters, stomping on their city, especially one that looks this damn goofy. Now,
see, that's what I can't get past in this.
But
at least with tentacles, the octopus has some reality look to it, sort of, from time to time.
That's because they used an actual octopus. They just did close-ups of it to make it look big.
Right. This thing is just the marionette.
It is a marionette.
Stupid looking.
It is not even a guy.
Goofy looking.
It is not even a guy in a suit. It is a marionette with little tiny little stubby T-Rex arms and little itty bitty, totally useless. Don't even know why they're on their wings. Although he does manage to spit like toxic, slimy, loogy things, which is interesting. But the whole idea of this monster that the military is like, well, crap, what do? We can't shoot it, because if they shoot it, it's going to, make more monsters. If they blow a piece of it off, it'll just grow into another monster, then you'll have 2 monsters. Right. Then what do? The cast includes a lot of people from Denmark that I don't know, and it's just absolute crap. It is.
It's absolute unwatchable crap.
It's not unwatchable. It's hilarious.
It
is so crap. Funny. My number 7, Reptilicus.
My number 7 is one of those rarities that we go through so many bad martial arts films. It's scary. We went through a lot of them this year for Masochistic March. We did all martial arts stuff. As you guys know, if you've been listening to Subject Cinema this month, over the years we've gone through and seen a lot of really bad crap. And while, again, in this particular film, the action is really good, it's the American dubbing which has turned this supposed classic of martial arts classic from the early 1970s into the swill that we have come to know and love. When we saw it at Showcase Cinema's Kung Fu Flicks, it had a different title. We actually have found that the actual title of the film now, and that's where I have it at number 7, 1972, I believe it came out. 2 Swords, 2 Sorcerers. It's basically 2 swordsmen and a woman versus a bad guy sorcerer and a good guy sorcerer they're trying to find.
Yep.
Now the one guy, the lead guy in the who's about to leave the group because he's fallen in love and wants to get married to this girl,
and gets told off by all his friends because he's selfish. I'm like, excuse him for wanting to have a life.
Has this way of fighting where he holds his leg up in the air and kicks with it. I'm like, this is the most ineffective way of fighting I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Then, of course...
This seems like an awfully good way to get kicked in the jewels, you want my opinion.
Now, listen. Stop that right now.
Look, I'm just stating my opinion. Now, the reason we're doing that is because the lines...
Every other line is, look, now listen.
Yeah.
And the one guy is dressed like the Green Power Ranger.
Yep.
It's freaking hilarious. And, it is fun to watch because the action is decent. And it may have been a really good film in the original language. I don't know.
Oh, I doubt that.
Well, no, it had to be better than what we got. And then, of course, there's the acupuncture scenes, which have sound to them. When they stick the needle in, it goes. It's like Kim is like, every time we see
I
it.
didn't know whether I wanted to laugh or cringe. It came out kind of both.
You probably just heard, we just reposted the original review of this on This Weekend Subject Cinema. So it's a great bad film, and it's a lot of fun. And it is under the title The Deadly Duo on the 50-pack martial arts box set that you can get from Amazon for $10. It's really funny. Two Swords, Two Sorcerers from, I believe, 1972, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. My number 6 film is another film that from my childhood. I remember seeing this on Creature Double Feature more than once. It has been spoofed, rather mercilessly, deservedly, by Mystery Science Theater 3000. It is another of the slew of films that came out in the 50s that postulates the theory that, for some reason that I don't understand, atomic power makes things get huge. Now, the thing that gets huge depends on the film. You know, it could be a bug, it could be, it could be a spider, or in the case of this film, it could be one poor unfortunate bastard that was in the wrong place at the very wrong time. My number 6 is 1957's The Amazing Colossal Man.
Otherwise known as the Mr. Clean story.
A plutonium test that goes wonky.
Is that a scientific term?
Yep.
Wonky? Okay,
Yep.
just checking.
Very scientific stuff here on Prime Row 5 and 10. There's a plane crash that a small plane crashes near where a plutonium bomb is going to be set off. And Colonel Glenn Manning, the hero of our piece, a.k.a. that poor tragic bastard, decides to run out and try and save the pilot because something has gone, as I said, wonky with the plutonium. Well, apparently somebody jiggled the plug or kicked it or something like that, because while he's running out to save this guy, kaboom.
Now he's at point blank range,
yes,
and he survived.
He is practically standing on the plutonium bomb. And now, normally in this case, they would be picking up what was left of him with a dustbuster.
No, they wouldn't, because there would be nothing left. He would have been vaporized.
Right. Nope.
No.
He's all, burned up and looks like a bratwurst that's been left on the grill too long, until they take away the bandages the next morning and he's completely healed and grown new skin and blah, 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 blah. Which would be great, except for the fact that also he's lost all of his hair, apparently, except his eyebrows. He starts to grow and grow and grow. And as the taller he gets, the less sane he gets.
And the more philosophical he gets.
Yeah. Giving out with a line like, "What sin could a man commit in a single lifetime to bring this upon himself?" Shakespeare, man. Pure Shakespeare. Now,
Don't you mean Shakespeare?
Shakespeare, yeah. My biggest problem with this film is a problem that I have with a lot of 1950s monster movies, is the fact that we have this segue into 5th grade science class. What I mean by that is we have these segments of the film where in between all of the action that should be happening and all the destruction that should be happening, no, we have, blah, 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 and yakety, 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 and this is why this happens, blah,
and
blah.
radar!
Yeah. Usually said by somebody that looks like your 8th grade chemistry teacher, and there's usually a film involved or something. At one point in this movie, the scientists are speaking to Glenn's really upset fiancée, Carol. You think she'd be happy with him getting bigger, but anyway, hey-o! The problem is that Glenn is growing too fast. He's at 60, 70 feet, something like that. And according to the scientists, since the heart is made up of a single cell, it can't pump the blood fast enough to keep him alive for much longer, and it's also why he's going insane. Okay, show of hands.
I don't think the science knew that wasn't at the time, but
show of hands. Who knew the heart was a single cell?
It's not.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm like, the hell? What? And it all ends in a culmination of a battle in Las Vegas with a lot of superimposed bald Glenn running amok in a sarong. Needed that image. It is just...
Actually, it's just a bed sheet.
It's just dumb, it's silly, it's goofy, it's weird, and I love it. I absolutely love it. My number 6, The Amazing Colossal Man.
I have to be honest, I didn't put any of the giant bug things in my list because I didn't think that I would consider them bad films because they're watchable without the Misty, and they're actually quite enjoyable if you can get past some of the bad special effects.
Yeah.
Especially beginning to the end, which I love. And it's like a lot of fun, but I just wanted to say that up front. And not that doesn't fit in there too, but if that's what you want to call bad, that's fine. But I could think of worse. What I'm saying. My number 6, I'm not even going to get into because you already did. I really didn't leave much for me to say, so it said it all. My number 6, Miami Connection from 1987. This film is hilariously funny. The music is actually listenable. If I could get a soundtrack album, I could put it on Marquee Mix. It'd be a lot of fun.
If you like music that makes you laugh. Would you please stop?
I could do the other songs.
Don't.
Okay. My number 6, Miami Connection.
I realize that some people might be kind of pissed off that this film is a little bit lower on my list than some people might think it should be. But it is a bad film. I mean, it is a bad film. And I do enjoy watching it, but there are some other bad films that I enjoy watching more. We had heard about this film for a couple of years, and we were like, what is so awful about this film? It can't be, it can't be as bad as everybody says it is. Then we saw it, and it was...
For the first Massachusetts March, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, everybody's right. My number 5 from 2003, The Room. Good grief.
Have fun with your breast cancer.
That is not a line in the movie. That is a running joke that I came up with because I am...
you notice they used it at Riff Tracks, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
That is a running joke that I had come up with because I am an insensitive, evil bitch. I'm sorry, you're going to give a line about talking about breast cancer with the same kind of inflection that you'd say, I missed the bus.
Yeah, I know.
What? Anyway.
I dare you to run down the plot line of this film in 30 seconds.
There's cheating, Lisa's a whore, and there's a suicide. The end. Actually, no, Lisa's not a whore, because at least whores are smart enough to get paid.
And you forgot about Denny, the weird kid next door.
Yeah. There's infidelity, Lisa's a slut, Denny likes to watch, and Johnny blows his brains out at the end of the movie when he should have put a cap in Lisa's head. Oh,
now you've given away the plot. Such as it is.
You actually said that with a straight face. Good grief. I'm so impressed. If you have never seen The Room...
you should see it with an audience. It's a great film anyway, but just... if you see it with an audience the first time... We didn't see it with an audience until after we saw it on video. Seeing it with an audience is an experience and a half. That's all I have to say.
It is... Oh, good grief, this movie is absolutely terrible. But it's so much fun to rip apart and just laugh at. Point and laugh at, actually. My number 5...
You didn't give a cast list there, did you intend to?
Okay.
It's basically the brainchild of auteur, Tommy Wiseau.
That man,
I could not say that with a straight face.
That man becomes an auteur the same day that I become a Jedi Knight and find out where Batman lives.
Does he have a unique vision?
Yes.
Then it makes him an auteur. Anyway.
Where does my lightsaber come in the mail?
When they invent them.
I'm a Jedi, but I'm Sith curious. The cast includes Tommy Wiseau, Greg Sestero.
Cicero, yeah.
Cicero. Sorry, Greg. Juliette Danielle, Philip Haldeman, and Carolyn Minogue, and a bunch of other people. And the less said about the acting in this movie, the better. Actually, the less said about this movie, the better. You have to experience it. The Room, number 5.
My number 5 is a movie that I know Kim will sit through, but she's not terribly fond of it. I think it's funny as hell. I loved it the first time I saw it. It was about, 5 or 6 years ago. I saw it Mistied. And then we saw it Riff Traxed. And it's fun. It's bad, and yet there's certain aspects of it that I find are pretty sweet. I mean, I really do. For the amount of vitriol it's gotten over the years, I don't think it deserved quite as much as it got. And most of that, unfortunately, comes from the fact that it features an 8-year-old Pia Zadora. My number 5 is Santa Claus versus Conquers the Martians. This is one of the goofiest Christmas films you've ever seen. Now, she prefers Santa Claus, the Mexican film.
See, I find that sweet.
One. I can't stand that one. This one I love.
But that one has Lupita in it.
Which is why I can't stand it. She's a very sweet girl. She's sweet. She's cloying. This is much funner. I just think it's goofy. And I like the Santa here.
Oh, it's totally ridiculous.
The Santa here is hilarious. He takes his little kidnapping to Mars to make toys for all the Martian children. Of whom we see 2.
Yeah, he's very chill.
Yeah.
For someone that's been kidnapped, it was something that would probably be an interplanetary act of war.
Yeah.
He's very chill about it.
It's a very funny movie, and it has a great deal of fun. And I think the kids are fun too. They seem to really enjoy what they're doing. Especially the 2 American kids that are supposed to be in it. Pia Zadora and I don't know who the other Martian kid is, are kind of at first. But when they get into the fun stuff, then, hey, the Martian kids are all fun too,
Well, the one thing that bugs me about this film, and I realize that I'm trying to be serious about a film that is just so ridiculously cheesy. Mars is the red planet, right?
Yeah.
Why are the people green?
I don't know. I've never figured that out.
I mean, I know it's the whole little green men thing, yeah. Which is really kind of insulting.
And they use whammo. They actually blew somebody's eardrum out during the filming of that film because they shot it too close to one of the
some kind of air gun thing.
Yeah, because they make a loud popping noise.
Yeah.
My number 5, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians from 1960.
Next on my list, and I know now this one is going to get people mad at me again, but it's going to get a different bunch of people mad at me. My number 4 is 1962's King Kong versus Godzilla. God. Now, I realize that I just pissed off a whole ton of G fans.
No.
Because they're...
I don't think so. Even they know this is crap.
It's not one of the better Godzilla films. But that doesn't have... That actually has less to do with Godzilla than it has to do with King Kong.
Yeah, Godzilla in this movie is fine.
Yeah.
King Kong in that ridiculous papier-mâché outfit is like, oh my God, really?
I'm sorry. I realize that they probably didn't have an enormous budget, and I'm like, okay, fine. But still. At least you can say that Godzilla at this point is still... I wouldn't call him the bad guy. He's defending his territory. But at least this isn't the whole jumping and clapping... pandering to children Godzilla that we got in later films.
Yeah.
But it's a terrible film.
Yes, it is. It's a terrible film.
You have Godzilla and King Kong fighting each other, which is kind of ridiculous because if you go by the height from King Kong from the original film from the 30s and you actually put him against Godzilla, the fight would last about 5 seconds. You'd hear squish.
You remember Bambi vs. Godzilla by Marv Newland? That's what it would turn out to be.
You'd hear this.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie would be Godzilla going,
credits.
Ew. Godzilla going, ew, what did I step on?
The credits.
Yeah. So they made Kong enormous in this film and decided that apparently they would take somebody's fur coat and use that for the fur. Because I'm sorry. My whole thing with this film is: did you people even see?
Look at King Kong.
Did you? Yeah. Did anybody actually look at a picture of a gorilla? Just fleetingly, maybe. It's and the fact that you've got Kong and Godzilla doing wrestling moves, which is just absurd.
Yeah. And
the whole ending of the movie.
Yeah.
The fact
it's
that
a draw.
Yeah. This movie is the...
She hates that.
Is the kaiju smackdown equivalent of kissing your sister.
You have to have a draw with these two. There's no other way to do it. Otherwise, you're killing one of your cash cows.
Let me put it to you this way. There better not be a...
There will be a draw in the legendary one, too. You cannot kill off King Kong.
Damn it. But this version is just complete goofy fun. And it's fun.
No, it's not.
I think it's
crap.
Fun. It's not
It's
that.
unwatchable crap.
I'm sorry.
It is true. It's unwatchable crap.
The cast includes Tadao Takashima, Kenji Sahara, Yu Fujiki, Ichiro Arashima, Mai Hama, Jun Tazaki, and a bunch of other people.
And no short pants kids, which is weird.
No short pants kids. Number 4, King Kong versus Godzilla.
I am amazed my number 4 hasn't shown up on your list yet, and maybe it will, I don't know. But this is, I think, it is my highest ranking of all the Mystery Science Theater 3000 features on my list. I think this film is so bad. I number 1, cannot figure out how it got into theaters with its title.
Okay.
Number 2, its premise is utterly ridiculous. And it tries to combine superheroes and spies and bad guys and weird plot lines and throws them all together into a blender and comes up with the most ridiculous mishmash of crap. And yet, if you watch it, there are parts of this movie that leave me in total hysterics every time. My number 4, from 1964, The Wild World of Batwoman. I laugh myself sick every time I see the scene where they're sitting around worshiping Batwoman as she's talking, and they're doing like weightlifting and exercises,
isometrics and stuff.
And these two women behind her start. It's weights, isn't it, or is it?
It's a horseshoe.
Is it a horseshoe?
Yeah, they're doing a tug of war with a horseshoe.
And it gets to be. I mean, talk about upstaging.
You're watching them.
Oh my God. I was on the floor. And I am every time. It does the same thing to me that Schroeder and Lucy and Jingle Bells do to me every year when we watch Charlie Brown Christmas. Mm-hmm. I completely fall apart. I mean, this movie is brilliant. How they got away with it using Batwoman, which is a copyrighted character from DC Comics from the 1940s.
I don't think they did get away with it.
They didn't know. I don't think they did either.
I think the title, I believe, was changed to She Was a Hippie Vampire.
Hippie Vampire, yeah. But they still call it
Which
Batwoman.
makes even less sense.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, though. The plot line makes no sense. But it is fun. I mean, for her part, Batwoman, I didn't look up her name. She's actually a pretty good actress and does a pretty good job with this. Everybody around her, however, sucks. I'd love to see them do a remake of this, just to see what the hell they do with it. It would turn into the Sharknado of bad films, I think.
Oh.
My number 4, The Wild World of Batwoman. I love that film. Okay. It's so bad.
Oddly enough, that is not on my list.
Wow. I know you love it, too. So
I do, but there are priorities. By the way, real quick, her name was Catherine Victor.
Thank you. Yeah.
I knew it was Catherine, but I couldn't think of her.
She's got the Wikipedia stuff up. I don't have it up right now.
My number 3 is a film that I had heard. This is another film. I had heard about this film a lot. Now, when I was a teenager was when I started being more serious about films. And I was the whole bad film idea really caught my attention. And I started to go out of my way to see films that were bad, just to see if they were as bad as people said they were, like funny bad.
Yeah.
And there was this one film that I heard about, and I was like, I've never seen this. How bad could it be? And then one night on TV, they actually played it. And I remember being really excited because I was like, oh wow, now I get to see if this is really as terrible as people say it is. I laughed so hard I fell off the couch, and I'm lying there on the carpet just giggling like a mad woman. It was worse than it. Nobody could have prepared me for just how awful.
That's because all of you of Earth are idiots.
Yep. My number 3, Plan 9 from Outer Space from 1959, directed by the infamous Ed Wood. Now, there's a reason that this film is so high on my list, besides the fact that it was one of my first exposures to deliberately watching a bad film.
Yep.
I like this film a lot because it is so bad, but also because I think the whole idea of resurrecting an army of the dead to do your fighting for you, that's a great idea. You know, they're not going to want more money, they're not going to defect, they're not going to desert, they're dead. You don't have to worry about, there's, a ton of dead people. You just if you lose 100, you just go to a cemetery and boop, you've got another, like 200 more. Undead servants willing to do your bidding. Now that, in the hands of a competent director, would have been a hella awesome idea. I did mention this movie was directed by Ed Wood, right? There you go. Oh boy. I don't even know.
He wasn't the worst director on the planet, though.
He was one of them.
No, Coleman Francis takes that cake without a question.
It's really, 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 really awful to think that this was the film that Bela Lugosi would become famous for. That the last film that he did.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everyone knows the whole story that Bela was shooting the film, and during the filming, he passed away. Now, most people would have decided, well, we won't use the footage, or we'll cast someone that looks like him, or we'll just write him out of the film, or whatever. Not Ed. Oh, hell no. Ed decided that he was going to use a gentleman named Tom Mason, who was his girlfriend's chiropractor, to double for Bela.
Never mind that he's like a foot taller.
Never mind that Tom Mason was, as TC said, a foot taller, much younger, had a full head of dark hair, and looked about as much like Bela Lugosi as me. Ed's solution for this was, we'll just have you hold your cape up over your face and nobody will know. Spoiler alert, everybody knew. My number 3, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
I watched it once. I can't tolerate it. It's one of those I can't stand. Number 3 is one of those rarities that comes along once in a lifetime. Thank goodness it only comes along once in a lifetime. Although this one came along twice in a lifetime, and the second one actually has a higher score on IMDb, which amazes me. We saw this film for the very first time about a month after it came out, and we saw it at a special screening at the Brattle Theater. On the same day, we saw Citizen Kane and the Magnificent Ambersons at the same location.
So in other words,
we later saw it, Riff Tracks, and we've seen it a number of times since then because I laughed myself so hard, I bought the damn thing on Blu-ray. My number 3, Birdemic, Shock and Terror, directed by James Nguyen from 2010.
My number 2 is Birdemic, Shock and Terror. I don't think Stacy's forgiven us.
I don't think Stacy's forgiven us either. Birdemic is this homage, according to James Nguyen, to Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
As much as needed that. Oh no, wait, we didn't.
Yeah, as much as Sharknado is an homage to Jaws. This is just the. Oh my God! Rob is a solar panel salesman who makes $1 million on a big commission. So he and his girlfriend, I've forgotten her name, this girl that he met, it's an actress, Natalie, go out on their first big date night to see an Inconvenient Truth.
It's not them to see Inconvenient Truth. It's his friend and his.
I thought they all went together.
No, I'm not sure.
I think they all went together. Anyway, they're all these very attuned to climate change stuff, and there's these reports coming in from all over the area that these birds are attacking people with exploding poop and a number of other things. And then the birds show up on screen, and it's like watching Space Invaders. I'm like, these birds are just sitting there hovering. And pooping and exploding. Oh my God, I thought we were going to die. We were up in the balcony at the Brattle Theater with a sold-out crowd, and it was hysterical. And the thing with Riff Tracks was even better, because some of the commentary that the guys did was some of the best work they've ever done.
Yeah.
If you've never seen... Now, Birdemic 2 has a higher score on the IMDb.
How?
I don't know. Birdemic 2 was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrible. You can't watch it again.
It was terrible as in not funny.
They tried to make it funny, and that's why it didn't work.
Yeah.
The second one isn't worth it, but the first one, see it with a crowd, or just grab a crowd of friends, like 5 or 6, and come in and turn it on. It is a freaking riot. Number 3, Birdemic, Shock and Terror. What do you have to add to that? Number 2. That's impressive. I didn't think it would be on your list because I know you hate it so much.
I hate it, but I will admit that, I mean, if it's on, I would watch it simply because it is so horrible. I couldn't watch the second one again.
No, I couldn't either. The second one I did not like at all.
So overwhelmingly bad.
Yeah.
But Birdemic, Shock and Terror is a textbook example of how not to make a movie. Now, as TC mentioned, we saw this at the Brattle. The same night, we had seen The Magnificent Ambersons and Citizen Kane before that.
Yeah.
So it was like we had climbed all the way to the top of Everest, of the Mount Everest of movies.
And then fell into the Marianas Trench.
And then fell off. Oh my gosh, this movie is so incredibly awful. The whole idea of a date movie being an inconvenient truth, which is right up there with Fatal Attraction and The Accused as films you should not ever take someone on a date to.
And the disco scene. Don't forget the disco scene.
How could I forget the disco scene no matter how much I drank? The special effects.
Special effects? Special effects? No, they're not special at all. They're just there.
They are just there. And so are the birds. They're just there.
Yeah.
They're just hovering. Now, as far as I know, the only species of bird that hovers is a hummingbird.
Yeah.
Of which there are none.
These are eagles and something else.
These are eagles and vultures, which naturally hang out together at oh, no, wait, they don't. Oh, man, this movie is so unbearably, hysterically bad. My number 2, Birdemic, Shock and Terror.
My number 2 is just... It came close. I almost put it at number 1 because I've seen it at least 50 times over the course of my life. I saw it for the very first time in a theater when it was out in the theaters in December of 1974. And I remember being pretty terrified by it when I was a kid. However, watching it on repeat on television and over again on cable and made me realize, oh my God, this movie is just terrible. Or as Charles Barkley would put it, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And it has an all-star cast, and it's like, how did these people think this was good? I mean, it was a big moneymaker. It was one of the biggest films of the year. But it's also laughably bad because of the acting, which is so overwrought that it's ridiculous. And when you compare that to 2 other disaster films that came out around the same time, it really is overwrought. And that is why my number 2 film is 1974's Airport 1975. Charlton Heston, Karen Black, leading an all-star cast about a plane, 747, on the red eye from Washington, D.C., I think it is, to Los Angeles, gets hit on the cockpit's right side where the co-pilot sits by a small Cessna that crashes into it when the pilot of that is having a heart attack. Dana Andrews is the aforementioned pilot in the smaller plane. And then, of course, it wipes out the whole crew, and the stewardess is flying the plane. Karen Black has to get behind the wheel and overact, and Charlton Heston has to get on the phone, who is her boyfriend in this, who is at least, 40 years older than her?
At least.
And talking, getting all overwrought and overacting. And then you have the whole all-star cast. And poor Gloria Swanson went out on this film. And she played herself, which is just terrible. She's on a coast-to-coast flight. She'd been to New York to talk about her memoirs. and she's just playing Gloria Swanson. This is the film that gave us the Helen Reddy as the singing nun for Linda Blair, the sick kidney patient. This is the film that gave us so much that was ripped off on Airplane later. And it is a riot from beginning to end. The opening starts with a familiar face if you were a fan of the early years of Young and the Restless. Terry Lester in an uncredited part. This was his very first role before he did Arc 2 and before he became Jack Abbott on Young and the Restless for 20 years. He's like the concierge guy that handles the airlines. And then you've got Karen Black and Christopher Norris, later of Trapper John, going up the escalator, being hassled by a couple of pilots from their upcoming plane, one of which is played, the flight engineer, played by a pre-Chips Eric Estrada.
Yeah. Because sexual harassment is fun. Man.
Gary Collins, is that the other one? No. Roy Thennis.
Yeah.
And Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. is the main pilot. Plus appearances by Myrna Loy and Sid Caesar and so many people that just got wasted. And, of course, the obligatory cameo by George Kennedy as Joe Petroni. Now, Joe Petroni is in all 4 Airport movies. In the original Airport, he was the mechanic for TWA who came over to help TGA move their plane out of the way so runway 29er would get cleared up and Dean Martin would be able to land his plane. In Airport 77, he's a consultant for Jimmy Stewart, and in Airport 79, as I said earlier, he's the freaking pilot of the Concorde. Here, he's a director of operations for Transglobal, which is the same company that was in Airport. So it's on cable all the time, and if you've never seen it, sit down and watch it sometime, because I guarantee you will sit there and laugh yourself sick. Number 2, Airport 75, which actually came out in December 1974.
All right.
Number one.
My number one bad movie that I love is a film that I don't even know why we watched it the first time we saw it, but we both saw it, and it was like, we have to get this on DVD. And when it came out on DVD, we snapped it up and we watched it again. It is so unbelievably ridiculous. And I know some people might argue, well, you didn't put Batman on here because that's camp, but this movie is camp. To which I would respond, you can have good camp. The Batman film from the 60s is good camp. This film is not. My number one bad film that I love from 1975, Doc Savage, The Man of Bronze.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh,
that was a video on demand, so you have to order that one. You can't buy it in stores.
Wow. Doc Savage, The Man of Bronze, tells the story of Clark Savage Jr., who was known...
Should I put on some Sousa music in the background? Oh, okay.
Clark Savage Jr., known as Doc Savage, who is this perfect physical specimen of a man. You know, he's strong and brave and intelligent and just altruistic. People who...
And he's had a visit to the guys in Clones of Bruce Lee because he's all bronze. Well, you knew that was coming.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. It still isn't funny, but I knew it was coming.
Excuse me, they can't all be gems.
I'm sorry. People complain that Superman's a big blue Boy Scout, have never clapped their eyes on this guy. So the whole point of this film, such as it is Doc Savage and his stalwart companions, the Fabulous Five, who...
Later went on to do a show called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Thank you for going there, so I didn't have to get involved with this whole plot where there's natives and witch doctors and ancient magic and this maniacal villain called Captain Seize, and it's just,
It's freaking hilarious.
Oh my!
From beginning to end.
Gosh, this movie is messed up. I mean, when this film's idea of a romantic scene culminates with the young heroine of the piece, played by Pamela Hensley as a
pre-Princess Ardala from the Buck Rogers TV series.
Yeah. Pamela Hensley as a Central American or South American, I'm not sure.
What? I think it was Central American.
Named Mona Flores. Whitewashing? What whitewashing? Anyway.
You know how I feel about that word. Stop bringing it up.
Okay. All right. Terrible casting? What terrible casting?
Yeah.
When there's a scene where she practically throws herself at the good doc, which pretty much every woman in the film was want to do because it is Ron Ely and he had a banging bod back then. His whole...
Not that banging.
His whole response to her basically being like, take me now kind of a thing is this line, Mona, you're a brick. Sweet Caroline, this movie hurts. This movie is so unbelievably ridiculous. And as TC mentioned, the soundtrack is mostly made up of Sousa marches. And no, I'm not making that up. John Philip Sousa marches. My number one bad movie that I love, Doc Savage, The Man of Bronze.
I totally forgot about that one. I would have put that probably in instead of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians if I thought of it. Because that is one funny movie. And William Lucking is in it, who I always loved, and Paul Gleason, both of them part of the Fabulous Five. And they're terrific too. My number one you've already talked about, and I think you probably know what it is. I found this film to be a lot more watchable and funny than you did. And I admit that part of the charm of this film is the fact that you look at this and you want to say, my God, didn't anybody have the courage to stop this poor man from wasting his personal fortune making a movie like this? Because its writing is terrible. The acting is terrible on most of the people's part. And the leading man is just so Tommy Wiseau. There's no other way to put it.
No, there really isn't. There really isn't.
My number one is 2003's The Room. Oh my God. This film is so freaking funny. And it doesn't mean to be. Tommy set out to write a really, contemporary love story, and he thought he was doing a good thing, and he took himself seriously like poor James Nguyen did, the director of Birdemic. And the nice thing is he doesn't seem to mind being made fun of now. James Nguyen was kind of hurt by it at first.
Yeah.
Tommy is kind of learning to take things in stride. He's super serious and he kind of ignores things anyway. But, when you write a film this incoherent, this film, I feel bad for Philip Haldeman. Everybody gets all over people's acting in this film. Philip Haldeman was a classically trained degree in theater when he played Denny. He was the only person that could actually act in this film.
Yep.
And his career was just instantly ruined. And now he's been a writer for the Scripps News Service for like 15 years. But he is writing his own book and stuff, and he's actually done a comic book about the making of how he got the role of Denny in The Room, which was really funny. Greg Sestero who plays Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. Wrote a great book called The Disaster Artist, which has been turned into a major motion picture by James Franco and will be out later this year. It had its premiere at South by Southwest. It is the story of Greg and Tommy's real life friendship and how their friendship led to The Room and the making of The Room. And they have tons of people doing cameos in that movie. Josh Hutcherson plays Philip Haldeman. Mm-hmm. Jackie Weaver plays Claudette, the lady that played Claudette, who's the breast cancer lady. Ari Grainer plays Lisa. Seth Rogen's in it. A whole bunch of good people. Zac Efron is Chris G, which they said you can't even recognize him. Chris G is the drug dealer that Denny gets involved with. I can't wait to see that because it got raves at South by Southwest. And Franco plays Tommy. And Dave Franco plays Greg. But the original is... There is no... You have to see it to understand the cult around it. If you've never seen it...
You have to see it.
You're not going to get it because it is so funny. And I had heard about this, and we had heard about this. And I finally said... I said, I need to see this for Masochistic March. Can you get me a copy? Because I didn't want to spend $10 on it. And so somebody gave me their copy of it, and I said, let me borrow it, and we watched it, and oh my God, I've never been the same since. It's that funny and that screwball. It's been called the Citizen Kane of bad movies. I would actually call it the Rocky Horror Picture Show of the current generation, because it shows weekly and bi-weekly at midnight in so many cities, and they are literally doing the same thing. They're doing the floor shows with it. They're doing and it's hilarious. Tommy, at least, like I said, has developed a sense of humor. I think poor Greg, who was actually also an actor, kind of learned to live with it. And the book is, if you've never read the book, read it, because it's a riot. Greg tells some hilarious stories in this book, and it's awesome. My number one, from the wit and wisdom of Tommy Wiseau, The Room.
Okay. Okay. So, my bad films that I love to watch from 10 to 1. Number 10, King Kong Escapes. Number 9, Tentacles. Number 8, Miami Connection. Number 7, Reptilicus. Number 6, The Amazing Colossal Man. Number 5, The Room. Number 4, King Kong vs. Godzilla. Number 3, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Number 2, Birdemic, Shock and Terror. And number 1, Doc Savage, The Man of Bronze.
My top 10 are number 10, The Concorde Airport 79. Number 9, Prince of Space. Number 8, Can't Stop the Music. Number 7, Two Swords, Two Sorcerers. Number 6, Miami Connection. Number 5, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, with a caveat for Doc Savage because I didn't think about it. Number 4, The Wild World of Batwoman, which I cannot believe is not on your list. Number 3, Birdemic, Shock and Terror. Number 2, Airport 1975. And number 1, Tommy Wiseau's masterpiece, The Room.
I think masterpieces go well. Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what they were going to call the film.
Yeah, that's true.
They went back to The Disaster Artist as the proper title, which is the title of the book.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
So that's our list for this week, and we hope that you'll send in your list, because we can keep coming up with them, but we'd much rather use yours and give away prizes and put your name on the website and on the show.
Yeah.
So email us, frontrow@PNRNetworks.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's your turn to pick topic.
It's my turn to pick.
So
yes,
barring we hear something better from one of our listeners.
Mm-hmm. Next week's show is going to be both of our top 10 movie WTF moments. These are moments in a film that, for good or for ill, you sat there and went, what the beep just happened? It could be a moment where you're like, wow, I can't believe it, or wow, I can't believe it, or what? It's got to be a moment that just made you completely, it took you out of yourself for a moment, for good or for bad. So next week's show is going to be our top 10 movie WTF moments.
I hate these kind of lists because they're so freaking hard. You're so much better at those than I am. I'm really going to have a hard time with that one. Well, I'm sure I'll come up with them eventually. I'll have to go for good and bad, I think.
And you can use anything. Documentaries, animated films, live action, whatever you want.
Okay. That sounds good. Don't forget to check out all of our other shows that you can hear various places around PNR Networks. There's Subject Cinema, Front Row 5 and 10, this show, 3 Minute Weekend, and its companion Tuesday Digidex, my new show Catastrophe, Vortex, when I get it up, Kim's show Platinum Rose's Garden, and Cavebabble from Eric and Valerie Lyon. They're all available on our various websites, which you can get to by clicking the right sidebar on eCinemaOne or eCinemaBoston.
Yep.
And every show and site pops up there. Please come visit our websites, eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston. Right now, eCinemaBoston is going crazy with our Boston Springs Festival coverage. I'm pulling my hair out. That's why Catastrophe Vortex is 2 weeks late. And we have all kinds of other great stuff coming up. If you guys would take the time to become our Patreon sponsor, we would make enough money to do a lot more. We have all these grandiose ideas, but we can't make them work without your help, nor can we do an equipment upgrade, which we desperately need. So come on board. It's $2 a month minimum starting, and we hope that you'll take the time to do that. And you can do that and any other pledge. We've got a whole bunch of other levels where you get all kinds of cool perks. And you can do that at patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
Okay. And we hope that you guys will come back next week here on Front Row 5 and 10. And we hope that we can count on you to help us count up our lists. And this is Front Row 5 and 10 for another week. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham.
And saying, may your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your lists always be goofy.
Or something like that.
See you next week.
Bye.
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.